So all of this being said, would I recommend the Lip Method machine? So when I first saw this machine, I'm gonna be honest, I thought I had a clear idea of what this was. I thought it was something I had seen literally 1,000 times before, which is just a normal rowing machine. However, once I actually learned more about this machine and I tried it out for myself, I realized that there's actually a lot more to it than I initially had thought. So essentially the Lip Method strength machine marries together a rowing machine and a Pilates reformer. Lip Method's philosophy is they say that they want to build bodies, not break them. So what this means is that this machine has really been designed for low impact exercises. So there's actually over 500 different exercises that you can do on this machine, and only a small portion of them really have anything to do with rowing. So I was really interested to give this thing a try. Let's talk about my experience. So full disclosure, Lip Method did send me this machine for free to review. However, I am just borrowing it from them. I'm actually going to send it back when I'm done with this review. They're also paying for my time to make this video, which I'm really grateful for. It can take upwards of 20 hours to make these videos. However, I do have full go ahead to really share my honest thoughts about this machine, talk about the pros, the cons, and all the small details that you may want to consider if you're considering buying a Lip Method machine. And if you do want to purchase a Lip Method after watching this video, then check out the description box of this video. I do have an affiliate link for Lip Method. I get a small commission if you do order through that link, and it helps me immensely get more products to review in the future. But if this is not the right machine for you, I totally get that as well. If that's the case, check out my playlist of other fitness devices that I've tried out. But without further ado, let's get into everything you need to know about the Lip Method strength machine.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hold it.
I'm gonna be honest, the Lip Method machine is kind of pricey. So there's a base package that just includes the machine and the basic accessories, the basic resistance bands, and it costs about $2,000 for that package. Then there's a few more expensive plans that have more accessory pieces that are between like $2,300 and $2,400 for the whole package. And then the other thing you're going to want to budget for is the monthly membership fee. So the monthly membership is $24.99, and that gets you access to the app and all of the classes and all the workouts and everything like that. It's not required to use the monthly membership. However, based on my experience with these classes, I would recommend going with the membership because so many of the exercises they are bringing up in these classes, I would literally have never thought to do with this machine. Like if I was just using this myself, I would probably just be doing basic rowing like 99% of the time. 3 months of the membership are actually included with your order, so you should have plenty of time to see if the membership is something that you want to continue with, but if not, you can cancel it at any time. Free next day shipping is included for customers in the US and Canada. How shipping works is it's just shipped through the mail, so it's not shipped through delivery couriers. So you don't have to worry about scheduling a delivery window or being home for the delivery or anything like that. And basically how it works is it's shipped in 3 separate boxes. So there's one big box and there's 2 smaller boxes. One has some accessories in it, and then the other one has the main rail system, which is the main rail that the seat sits on. And personally, I really like they do separate this into 3 boxes because it just makes it a little bit easier, especially if you are assembling it yourself, just to be able to move everything a little bit more easily rather than just having one big box. Also, I was surprised at how relatively lightweight the boxes were considering how large they were. One thing I found out is that the whole Lip Method machine only weighs 75 pounds without water in it, and that may sound heavy, but if you look up the weights for many of the competing products out there, you will realize that this is actually pretty lightweight. So given the lightweight nature of the machine and it being separated in 3 boxes, I found the boxes relatively easy to maneuver by myself. That being said, if you do have someone else who can help you move around the boxes if necessary, that's probably the easiest way to go about it. So after everything gets delivered, there's still some assembly that's required to get everything up and running. However, what I will say that is unique about the Lip Method versus other machines that I've looked at is most of the assembly is actually already done before the delivery. So there's actually only 4 screws that are required to really do all of the main assembly that is required. So I think in an ideal scenario, it would actually be very, very fast to assemble the Lip Method machine, I would estimate that it's probably only about 20 to 30 minutes to assemble everything if everything goes according to plan. That being said, I did personally run into some problems with the assembly and it ended up taking a lot longer than I think it was supposed to. Basically what happened is I had a lot of trouble connecting the main rail piece to the other main component, which has like the water wheel. Basically, you're supposed to put it in between the foot pads and it's supposed to just slide there easily into place. Then you just screw it into place. Unfortunately, I just could not get it into that space. It was honestly just too tight and narrow of a space for the main rail component to fit in. And I tried for a long time. I ended up contacting the company. They were super responsive and extremely helpful. Basically what had happened is, as I mentioned, most of the components are already assembled before you even get it. And I found that some of the screws that were basically attaching the foot pads were screwed on a little bit too tight. And because of that, there just was not that much space for me to put the rail component in between the foot pads. And what I ended up finding out that worked like a charm to fix this problem was basically just loosen some of those screws that were already there, the screws that are attaching the foot rests. So if you run into this problem, just try loosening up the screws that are already there, and that will probably be the best way to fix the problem. But after I got that resolved, I was able to attach those two parts in like 2 minutes. And then the final step after everything is assembled is you'll have to put water into the water wheel piece. The good news is that after the water is in there, you will never have to put more water in. And the only thing you have to do is put a water treatment tablet in it once a year, which I think is totally reasonable. And you can actually store the machine vertically and really do anything you want to do without emptying the water. So it's a little bit annoying to put it in the first time, but after it's in there, it's nice because you never really have to deal with it pretty much ever again. So now let me walk you through the physical machine itself. So the first thing we have here is the seat. I feel like the seat is pretty nice. It glides pretty smoothly. It also has kind of a nice textured material. A lot of the exercises have you put your hands on this or maybe your arms, elbows, stuff like that. So it's nice that it is a nice material and it does have a little bit of like a squishiness to it. So next up, you're gonna have your feet rests. These are very standard feet rests for rowing machines. You can adjust them up and down depending on your shoe size, adjust them here with these straps. And yeah, not too much to say more about that. So the next thing is you have this handle here, and again, it's a very standard kind of rowing machine handle, but I think what's different about it is you will use this for a lot of the different exercises. So kind of doing bicep curls with it, stuff like that. The only small problem I've had with this is you do have to be careful because there is this like track system here. So if you move it too far off to the side, I have once or twice accidentally slipped it kind of off the track, and then I had to put it back because it got kind of stuck. And then the final major part of the machine is this water jug here. And you can change the intensity of basically the resistance that you're going to get from the water wheel with this dial here. It goes from 1 to level 4. And then there's also a bunch of other exercises in addition to rowing that use this part of the machine. So it's also used to kind of balance on for planks and stuff like that. So a lot of the classes, I was super surprised at just the creative stuff that they came up with, because most of the stuff I literally would have never thought of before. So one thing you may have noticed about this machine is there's no cords, there's no built-in electronic components. And basically the way that you're going to be able to watch the classes in the screen is with your own device, like your own phone, your own iPad. And so this is definitely something you're going to want to consider because it's definitely different than a lot of other popular fitness devices out there. So first, let's start with the positives of not having any screen actually connected to the device. So number one, there's no cords. So there's no unsightly cords. You don't have to worry about the aesthetics of having a bunch of cords everywhere, tripping over cords. Is the cord gonna be long enough to reach the outlet? You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You also don't have to worry about it becoming outdated. About 5 years from now, the screen is gonna be some big hunk of junk that immediately screams 2022 when everything else is like 2027. You know what I mean? You also don't have to worry about glitches, malfunctions with the electronic components of the machine. I cannot tell you how many times I've had problems problems with some of the big name machines out there because of the electronics. Recently, another device that I have was completely out of commission for like a month because the cord was broken. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. They said that I might have to get a screen replaced for $500, and it ended up being a problem with the cord, and it was just like a big annoying occurrence. And with the lip method, you would never have to worry about any of that stuff because there's no built-in electronics to break. Also, another benefit is you can have a lot more flexibility in terms of where you do your workouts. So if you want to do it in the middle of a room with no outlets nearby, you can do that. You could even take it outside to do a workout. Although I probably wouldn't leave it outside permanently because that's probably hazardous and like could cause rusting and stuff like that. Also, another benefit is you don't actually have to have your tablet connected to the machine itself. If you want to prop it up on something, if you want to put it on a shelf or have it cast to, you know, a bigger device or whatever, you don't actually have to have it connected to the device itself. That being said, there are some negatives that you're going to want to consider before you purchase one of these machines. So for example, one negative would be you will have to provide your own screen. Another thing that you're going to have to keep in mind is you will have to charge your device, obviously, like off of the machine. There's going to be some back and forth where you'll have to take off the tablet to charge, put it back. You may not be able to use the device if your tablet is low battery, stuff like that. So, you know, that's something that's important to you. Definitely keep that in mind. I don't have too much experience with water rowers. Most of the rowers that I've used, at least most recently, have all been electronic drag rowers. So there's no water. It's all just like mechanical, electrical stuff that creates the resistance. But I actually really liked the water. I think it had a very kind of natural feel to it. It's almost like you're at the beach. You have that like water whooshing sound. And I actually really liked it. I found it almost like meditative to hear that sound of the water. Also, another thing that I like about the water is it does make the actual machine a lot lighter because you don't add the water until the machine's already in the final place where you're going to put it. The only negative I would say about the water rowing versus like an EMF type of rower is I feel like it's a little bit louder. I'm going to just do 5 sample rows and I'm going to test the loudness, the decibels of how loud it ends up being. So try putting the decibel reader on my phone just in between my feet here. So let's check it out. So actually the decibel reading was almost exactly the same as what I've seen for electronic rowing machines. So the max decibels was 71.6, the average was 65.2. So the loudness is pretty much exactly the same. The only thing to keep in mind is that the actual sound itself is gonna be the difference. So if you have a preference between more of that like water splashing sound and more of a motor sound, then, you know, just keep that in mind. There's a pretty wide variety of classes you can take from the Lip Method app. So there's strength training, rowing, time strength, which is basically a combination of those first two, Pilates, mat cardio, bar, ab lab, and recovery and injuries, which has a lot of really good like stretching and stuff like that. As you'll notice, most of the classes really have nothing to do with rowing. And I think that kind of brings home the point that this looks like a rowing machine, but really the majority of the content and the majority of the different types of exercises that you can do. Of course, you can row on it as much as you want, but really the thing that impressed me the most about this machine in general is just the versatility and the different types of workouts that are possible on this machine. It kind of made me look at normal rowing machines in a different light and just made me feel kind of like those are a little bit of a one-hit wonder, you know what I'm saying? And then there's a few different ways you can watch the classes. So you can either watch them live or you can pick from the pre-recorded class library. For the most part, it seems like they have about 3 live classes per day. And then in addition to the individual classes, you can also take programs. So when I checked, there were 14 programs to choose from, and they focus on different types of strength training goals, different types of workout types, stuff like that. So if you're someone who wants a little bit more structure, you don't want to just pick randomly different classes, then that's definitely a really nice option that they have. From the classes I tried, I felt like they were all a pretty good workout. I think the intensity level I would say was kind of like medium. Like my heart rate never got super high from any of them, but I was a little bit sore after all of the workouts. And I felt like I was also using a lot of different types of muscle groups where you wouldn't necessarily get if you were just rowing or just using a machine that only has like one type of exercise that you can do. In terms of the style of the classes, I found that most of them were really quite fast paced. There were a lot of different transitions, a lot of different type of exercise and workouts, which overall I liked. I think it was really nice to have a good variety. It made the time go by like so fast because we're always doing something different. The only thing that I kind of ran into in terms of trouble with the classes is I did find them sometimes borderline a little bit too fast paced, where it was hard to just do the transition fast enough that the instructor was going. So maybe we doing one exercise and then we had to transition to a different exercise, which maybe required some different equipment or different accessories. And I don't know how they did it, but I feel like the instructors transitioned so fast. Sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to keep up, where sometimes I would lose a little bit of the workout time because I was still transitioning. The good news is there is a pause button. So if you do need to pause a few seconds between exercises, you can definitely do that and still have the full workout time. But another piece of advice related to this is definitely make sure that everything that they say you need for the class is set up before you start, and then you'll minimize as much disruption that you'll need to do in those transitions. So all of this being said, would I recommend the Lip Method machine? I would to a lot of people. So I think if you're someone who really wants to have a very wide variety of workouts all with the same machine, I think this could be a really great fit for you. I think this is also a really good fit for someone if you want a low impact style of workout. I think this is also good if you live in a small apartment or something like that and you want to be able to store it vertically. That being said, you have to make sure that you should at least like rowing a little bit. Most of the machines are not rowing, but if you don't like rowing at all, then maybe this is not the machine for you. Also, you're definitely gonna wanna think about if you do want higher impact workouts, then that's definitely something to consider, because that is really not what this machine is for. But if you weigh the pros and cons and you do want to purchase one, then again, feel free to check out my affiliate link down below. Again, thank you if you do that. I'm super appreciative. And let me know your questions and comments. Are you thinking about buying one? Why or why not? And until next time, bye.